What is going on, guys? So in this video, I'm going to be going over how I build chatbots end to end. So that means how I'm going to structure the data for a knowledge base, how I go about answering questions, how I prevent hallucinations, so essentially how I prevent the chatbot from messing up, and lastly, how I track the performance of a chatbot. And the demo I'm going to be using in this video is I made an AI version of Ryan Clog where essentially you can ask him any questions based off all of his YouTube videos. And yeah, as you can see here, I asked a question, can you give me a walkthrough of your pre-call funnel so that we can increase show rates as much as possible and also warm up leads as much as possible. And how it works is it gives us the answer, obviously, right? So to increase show rates and warm up leads in your pre-call funnel, you can implement several strategies based on our experiences. First, ensure that the funnel includes a clear and engaging VSL, blah, 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 and also provides sources with the actual YouTube links on where we got this answer from. So you can literally click this and it takes you to the exact video right
Monday
here.
CRM.
Okay? And if you don't know who Ryan Clog is, I would highly recommend checking out his YouTube content. He has been putting out a lot of good shit on like sales, marketing, and like anything info related. Just like, I don't even sell info, and I fucking love his content. Essentially though, the whole goal with all of this is to create an AI version of him so I can ask him any questions I want about like sales, marketing, operations, whatever. And this, you can do this with like any YouTuber. And again, the whole goal of this video isn't to learn how to like make a chatbot for a specific YouTuber, although that does apply for this video. The whole goal of this video is for you guys to understand my logic, my thought process, how I go about designing a flow for a chatbot. Okay, guys, in terms of how this works, okay? So the first part of building a chatbot, the first part of building any chatbot is ingesting data or building your knowledge base, okay? Because again, to be able to answer questions about your business or about, say, Ryan Clog in this example, right? It needs actual knowledge base of information about your specific situation, okay? So again, for us, what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be scraping all his YouTube videos, okay, and ingesting that into our knowledge base, okay? So here's some considerations I need to make though. Again, so the whole goal of this chatbot is to be able to ask quote unquote Ryan, or AI Ryan in this case, right? Ask Ryan questions, okay? But here are some things I noticed when I looked through his YouTube channel. One, the main thing I noticed is that he does a lot of podcast episodes, which are very good, by the way. But nonetheless, the whole goal of this chatbot is to ask Ryan questions. And what I could very much see happening is us, if we take the transcripts from every single video, including the podcast, right? It's gonna start, and we're gonna add noise into our knowledge base because again, we're gonna be adding information from other people now, right? Which is probably good information, but again, the whole goal of this chatbot is to ask Ryan questions, not just asking questions to Ryan and say like Jeremy Haynes right over here, right? These podcast episodes essentially add noise to our knowledge base if we were to include them. So in the effort of preserving like high quality data, and again, these podcast episodes probably have good shit. The whole goal, kind of what goes in through my mind, is how do we reduce noise as much as possible? So the decision I made in terms of this knowledge base is to actually just remove all the podcast episodes. And the way that I do that is just using AI. So the entire flow though of this data ingestion is first we have a CSV with the YouTube links and the title. So unfortunately Ryan actually already has a Notion doc where he has all this shit. So I literally just copied and pasted it. Like you could literally just go like that, just copy and paste the entire thing, put into this nice clean Google sheet right here. So it's now a CSV inside of our root directory. And then from there, you can use an API tool to scrape the transcripts. There are Python tools available to scrape the transcripts. If you do that, if you use those Python tools straight up though, it's gonna get your IP blocked from YouTube, which is literally what happened to me like an hour ago because I forgot about that. So yeah, that happened. So yeah, there's a ton of API tools. You can go on YouTube or you can go on Google and just search up like API tool to scrape YouTube transcripts. Just use that. You literally just have to input the link and it will scrape all the transcripts from them. So what the end result will look like is for every video, you'll literally have a transcript for every single one. So from there on, we're gonna throw in every single transcript, okay, through an AI model to just filter out if they're podcast episodes or not, or if there's another person that's not Ryan inside the episode or inside the video. Again, reason being is we want to remove out the noise because again, the last thing we want is this chatbot answering questions, let's say about like how to reduce no-show rates, and it's from someone else and it's not Ryan. But the way we're framing this chatbot though is that Ryan has this specific opinion based off his videos, right? And that's exactly what we don't want. So all I have to do was just feed in the first 1,000 words of the transcript and just prompt the LM to say like, hey, does this have another person in it, or is this a podcast episode? Shit like that, okay? And if it's true, we push it in. We continue on. If false, we just throw it out, okay? From there on, we chunk the data and we have the title of each of the YouTube video as the header for every single chunk, okay? And when I say chunk the data, for those who are less technical, these transcripts are fucking huge, right? Like they can be quite long, especially if you have 30-minute videos. We don't want to just feed the entire LLM the entire video transcript. That's just way too much. That's just way too much information. So what we want to do is just break them up. So let's just say a hypothetical easy example, like we broke it up by say like every 1,000 words, right? We broke every video up into 1,000 words just to make it more like digestible for an LLM to understand everything. But when we do that, we lose a lot of context, right? Let's just say we took a random video like why your funnel isn't booking calls, and we took the last 1,000 words, okay? Yeah, maybe those last 1,000 words are relevant to like why your funnel isn't booking calls, but wouldn't it provide much more context if it led with why your funnel isn't booking calls and the blob of text from the last 1,000 words of the video? The whole point of building an efficient chatbot, or with any AI system, being able to provide the correct context at the right time to this LLM call. So yeah, so what we do from here is we chunk up the data and we're gonna embed it, okay? And if you don't know what embeddings are, I'm gonna give you a quick example. Embeddings, all they really are is just turning a set of text into a list of numbers. So the example, I've probably done this example like 3 times in my videos, but I'm gonna do it again, is I like food, okay? What this equals to an embedding model is, again, the whole point of an embedding is to convert a set of text into a list of numbers, and these lists of numbers are designed to capture its meaning, okay? So a simple example, this isn't the actual, what the embedding looks like. Again, embedding is just the list of numbers here. I like food is 1, 2, 3, 7.8, 7.8, 10.5, -5, and -5 and like 4, okay? So this numbers, again, an embedding is actually in the real world, or in a real use case using an embedding model, this list of numbers is like fucking like 1,000 numbers long, okay? But again, this is a very basic example. So I like food is represented by this list of numbers right here. Now let's give you another example. Let's say I like food. Again, this list is supposed to capture the meaning of I like food. I love to eat, right? Literally same shit, right? Like it's different words, but it's literally the same shit. I like food, I love to eat. What you'll see in an embedding model is it'll convert this text right here into a list of numbers, but this list of numbers will be very similar. Like let's just say in this hypothetical example, the 4 here is 4.3, right? Or the 7.8 becomes 7.4. So this list of numbers is, this embedding right here for I love to eat will be very similar to I like food. And the question comes is, why the fuck do we need to turn this list of text into a list of numbers, or this embedding? So when building a chatbot, a user asked a question, right? So let's go back to the actual chatbot, right? I asked, can you give me a walkthrough on your pre-call funnel so that we can increase show rates as much as possible and also warm up leads? Okay, but we chunked up, again, we have all these transcripts and we broke up these transcripts into chunks, okay? How do we know which chunk, how do we even know which video to give it to best answer the question, right? So what we do is we're gonna turn this question, this user query, right? So my question right here, into this list of numbers, okay? So like the same list of numbers right here, this embedding, we're gonna convert it into that. Why? Because again, these embedding models, they let you find similar text. So if we embed this about pre-call, we're asking a question about pre-call funnels, increasing show rates, warming up leads, what potential data can we find from our knowledge base? Information about how you can increase show rates in your pre-call funnel. Information about how you can warm up leads in your pre-call funnel, right? We're using these embeddings to easily find relevant information to best answer the user's question, okay? That is the goal with embeddings, and that's literally, it's super, super important when you work with anything with AI. So yeah, nonetheless, we embed every single chunk of data. So again, all these transcripts right here, we're gonna break them up into, let's say 1,000 words. Easy example. I'm actually using 1,000 tokens, but for simplicity's sake, let's just say 1,000 words. Every 1,000 words from every transcript, we're breaking them up, and those 1,000 words turn into those lists of numbers. And then yeah, so we embed them. We push it up to a vector store. A vector store is just a database to store those lists of numbers because they're gigantic. I use Pinecone, but yeah, these numbers are gigantic. We just need a database to easily store all these to make it easy to find similar embeddings again for when we have a user question come in. And yeah, so this is what it would look like on Pinecone. As you can see, so I'm just gonna pick a random example right here. So I'm gonna hit fetch. So this is the chunk, right? So this is from this is from Ryan's YouTube video, SMS tool we use to double responses. Okay, this is from the video. This is from the transcript, right? And this text looks like this in the form of embeddings. I'm gonna copy and paste this, and I'm gonna show you guys how long this shit is. Like this, all this text right here, right? Or all these numbers right here, right? Is represented by this text, right? Okay? It's fucking crazy. But essentially, these lists of numbers, again, are used to help our AI models get relevant information for the user's question to help best answer it. But yeah, guys, so that is pretty much like the first step with building a chatbot. It's data ingestion. Again, the whole goal of this is to help you guys consider like how I build it, because I think a key thing here that I think a lot of beginners may miss is like, say, using an LLM to filter out podcast episodes, okay? Because again, you don't want, because again, the whole goal of this data ingestion process is so that when a person asks questions about, say, How do we increase show rates and shit like that, right? We provide actual information about what Ryan would do to increase show rates. But if we included podcast episodes, the issue is now we're having other people potentially talking about show rates, and that may not be Ryan's opinion, that he may disagree with, or whatever it may be, right? So the whole goal of this is to filter out all the noise, all the bullshit that's not related to this setting, and just have a high signal rate inside of our knowledge base with key relevant information. And a good example of this too is a lot of times I talk to a lot of companies, and they always everyone wants to build a chatbot to help answer questions about their company, for like customer support. And they always say, oh, how about we just use our client Slack channels as training data. And think about what goes on if you ever ran like any B2B business with clients, right? Think about what goes on inside of a Slack channel. There is a lot of noise inside of there, because again, the whole goal, they're saying that they want to use these client Slack channels as a way to answer questions from other clients, or when clients just ask questions in general. But think about what goes on inside a client Slack channel. There's questions about deadlines that are specific to the said client, specific to not just the client, but that time of day. Let's say for one client, this ad campaign will be launched within 7 days of onboarding. But then another client, right? It's be 14 days because they bought a different package or they bought a different plan. I don't know. The Slack channels just aren't clean, structured set of text to like actually build an LLM model off. Because again, there's just so much noise that goes in them, right? And again, it's not even just about client. Like it doesn't have to be about deadlines. Like what if you're just shooting the shit with your clients, just talking about your weekends and things like that. Like that, again, could add noise. Another example with this specific setting is what if Ryan had a bunch of vlog episodes where it's not even about business. It's like literally, like those like crazy influencer, like day in the lives type of thing. Like shit like that, right? Like that wouldn't be data we want inside our knowledge base, because like those lifestyle content, that's not information unless we want to ask him about his lifestyle. But the whole point is just to ask business questions. And say if Ryan had lifestyle vlog content here that was unrelated to business, of just him, I don't know, getting blitzed on fucking Mykonos or some shit, that is unrelated to what we're trying to do with this chatbot, and we would have to remove that, right? So again, that's just the whole idea with all this. But yeah, nonetheless, I just want to get you guys like kind of like the mindset or like what goes through my mind when I'm considering like data ingestion for a knowledge base. Step 2, the actual chatbot side. Okay, so now we have all the data inside Pinecone, our vector store, right? So we ingested everything, we scraped the transcripts, we embedded them. So again, turned it into this fucking giant list of numbers. Every single 1,000 chunk of words or 1,000 tokens of words, right, is converted into its own unique list of numbers to represent it. All right. So we have that. Now we have the chatbot side here. So here's how the flow looks. Okay. So and again, this setup is called RAG, by the way. That's just like the AI. That's like the technical term for all this, but nonetheless, right? So how it works is there's a user question that comes in, just like how I asked here. Can you give me a walkthrough on your pre-call funnel? So blah blah blah, right? We're gonna check if the question is in scope or not. Okay. And what do I mean by that? So the whole point of this chatbot, again, is to ask Ryan questions about business, entrepreneurship, sales, marketing, etc. What if I asked this chatbot about fitness or like dating, which he has no videos on, right? That's not really his focus. That's not really his niche, right? We do not want our model to be answering questions about that, obviously, right? Because again, imagine if you put this in production, okay? You're leaving a room for essentially the LM just spewing bullshit, essentially. So I call it an Inscope check. So all we're doing is we're taking the user query. We're not even answering it yet. We're just checking if the question is in scope or not, okay? So for example, if I asked, let's go to this, what is your thoughts on how to gain weight in 6 weeks? Look at that. I can only answer questions about entrepreneurship, marketing, sales, operations, mindset, and self-improvement. Because again, Ryan is not a fitness influencer. He does not want, again, say I'm deploying this for Ryan in this situation. I would not, if I were him, I would not want my chatbot answering questions that are not related to what I specialize in, okay? So yeah, that is the whole point of having an in-scope check. It's very useful when in production. If it's an internal tool, it's not really like a huge deal. Like say it's like your internal employees. Again, the whole point of this is just for you guys to understand what's going on through my mind when I'm building these AI systems. So yeah, we have the in-scope check. If it's in scope, we retrieve context to answer the question. We answer said question. What we do from there is we're gonna check if the answer generated is from the context provided. So what do I mean by that? So let's say in this scenario, Ryan has no YouTube videos on paid ads, and we ask a question about paid ads. That would pass through this in-scope question, obviously, right? Because that pertains to marketing. But we have no information, we have no context in our knowledge base, in our data, about paid ads. Because again, hypothetical example, there's no discussion of paid ads anywhere in our knowledge base, okay? And yes, in our prompts, when we have an AI answer the question, we will say like if it's not if the context is provided, do not answer the question, etc. But a lot of times AI models fuck up, right? We want to make sure, again, because we're here in this chatbot, we're representing a personal brand. We're representing, in this case, Ryan. The last thing I would want is, again, bullshit being spewed out that's not related to even what I believe in or what I say, right? That is like, again, like the last thing we want. So what I do here is I have a separate LLM call after we generate the answer, okay? Is here's the answer, here's a question, here's the answer, here's the context provided that was used to answer this question and to generate this said answer, right? Is this answer based off the context provided? Yes or no? Is this answer supported from the context we provided from our knowledge base? Yes or no? If it is, then we're in the clear, because again, that means the answer was retrieved, the answer was generated from the information that we provided, and thus, again, the information that we provided was from Ryan's YouTube videos, okay? So that means it is grounded in truth, and that means we're good to go to send the answer to the user. If false, we send a fallback message. The whole point of this is to prevent misrepresenting someone's brand, right? Because we don't want bullshit to be sent out when it's not even related to what he believes in or whatever, right? And then now we have a poor portrayal of said Ryan's brand. And in this case, this is if we were to have this in production to like say an audience to use, shit like that, okay? But nonetheless, that is the entire flow of how I build the RAG chatbot side. And that is pretty much how these answers are generated over here, okay? The next thing I want to go over is tracking. So I see barely anyone talk about actual like evaluation of their AI systems. So here's the flow that I use to actually evaluate a chatbot. Here's why evaluating a chatbot is important. Kind of let's go off the example again, right? Let's say in this chatbot, in this scenario, let's assume there's no videos or no information about paid ads, okay? Let's assume that. Let's assume there's no information about paid ads. What if a lot of users just keep asking about paid ads? Okay, wouldn't it be good, given, let's assume Ryan is an expert at paid ads, which is, he sounds like he's quite is from watching his videos, right? What if everyone's asking about paid ads and we don't have any knowledge that people are even asking about paid ads? Wouldn't it be good to know that you're getting asked a lot about paid ads, and if it's not available in our knowledge base, that we can add information to the knowledge base about paid ads? And again, that's just one example, but yeah, so what we do is if the answer is generated from the user query, so again, going back to the actual chatbot side, we generate the answer over here, right? What we're doing on the backend side is we're going to tag the user query based on a predefined categories. Again, this is a basic list, but I'd probably make this more granular. But like sales, marketing, ops, like is this question about sales, marketing, operations? Like let's just say like, how do you handle like HubSpot automations to do X, Y, and Z? That would probably get flagged as like tech and sales, for example, okay? The whole goal of this is to understand what type of questions we're being asked. Next, we're also going to evaluate on a scale of 1 through 3 if the context provided is relevant to the question. So how I prompted it in the LLM is 1, if it's not relevant whatsoever. If the context we provide is not relevant whatsoever in answering the question, rated a 1. 2, if it's indirectly relevant to answering the question, like it has some context, but it's not like the context we provide doesn't directly answer the question. So that's 2. So that's like decent still. And we mark as a 3 if the context provided is directly relevant to answering the question. So like pretty much I feel like so that means the chunks we provided from our knowledge base can be used to directly answer the question that the user asked, okay? And we're gonna push all this into a CSV file. And how this CSV file looks like, at least the way I made it, was there's a timestamp on when the question came through, the user's actual question, okay? So these are just some random questions I threw in before when testing this out. The query categories, right? So these got flagged as sales, marketing, sales, operations, sales. If it's in scope or not, again, we want to be able to track and log everything that's coming through so we understand the performance of everything, how our users are using this tool, how the users are actually like implementing this tool, right? So like what if we're getting a lot of out of scope questions, okay? Maybe like the funnel is off, or like the funnel/marketing is off for how we're presenting this chatbot. This CSV also has a column for if the answer is grounded, so that's just going back to, let's see, right over here when we check if the answer is generated is from the context provided, okay? And then the context relevance score. So again, that's going back to this, right? We're evaluating on the context on a scale of 1 to 3 if it's relevant to answering the question or not, okay? The reasoning, so the explanation of these results, and the generated answer as well, okay? And just the number of retrieved context and number of cited sources. But yeah, guys, that is pretty much it for this video. Yeah, the whole goal of this, again, obviously this does apply to like building a chatbot to answer, like you could make this Hormozy or like fucking Alex Becker, I don't know, right? But like the whole goal of this wasn't that, like it's more so again to understand my logic of like from data ingestion, building the chatbot, evaluating the chatbot, like just how I go about designing things. Okay, like that is the whole goal of all this. Like it's the actual system design to build an effective chatbot at the end of the day. But yeah, guys, I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you guys so much.